Hello everyone and welcome back to another scrap mechanic video. What you're looking at over here is something we attempted to build in a live stream. It's a giant spider and it's only got one leg because that's as far as I got, and then I felt like, hey, do you know what, building things really big, obviously big is good, but it's kind of tedious as well and hard to do. And I was thinking about some of the mechanics that we came up with in this live stream and how they could just be applied to something smaller, and smaller being more manageable is something I could build. So my idea of this video is to build a spider car, but also to go through the creative process. What we've been doing recently is tutorials. For example, this was one of them, wasn't it? Can we activate this from here? Yes, we can. So we did the spiral door. This one is a little bit broken by the looks of it. And rather than just show you the end result and then how to build it, I'd rather go through the creative process in this video. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And we started out by messing around with a couple of concepts for how to get these spider legs to work. And this is what we came up with. On this side we've got sort of the rotating thing. The idea is that the ground would be below and it would be taking steps forward with other legs on the vehicle. And then this one we never hooked up to repeat. That's basically doing the same thing, but it's doing it over here. And I want to sort of re-look at that and think about it a little bit more. Maybe make it a little bit more complicated. So we will start off by having a look at the spider leg and how we're going to attach it to the main car. And we're going back to doing something small, so it's going to be like the prototype that we build here will be the thing we build on the car, which is good. So I'm going to go into another world and we're going to build some prototypes. So we've learned a fair bit more since we last played Scrap Mechanic, and I think this is going to be a fair bit easier because we have pre-programmed these legs into a particular position, and that should make animating them to walk fairly easy as we can sort of rotate this one over a little bit, rotate them all a little bit, and it's basically going to go down and push into the ground. But what we can also do is rotate it left to right as well, which means when it's the leg that's pushing into the ground, it's then going to turn, and I've just realised this might be a little bit more complicated, then it's going to lift up, at which point it then needs to go back again. So that might not be possible with just the one bearing alone, which is why there's sort of a second bearing below it. I was starting to think about steering and stuff like that. At the moment what we'll do is probably make something that can go in a straight line. So if we have this second bearing down below, then we can start to steer some of the legs, which might help them steer forward, I hope. But the main thinking here is that by having lots of bearings we give ourselves more control. So I'm probably going to attach another set of bearings on the one we build onto the spider itself, and those ones will probably be between these 2 points, so the leg itself will have more of an arc, be a little bit bigger overall, and it give us a tiny bit more flexibility. So we're going to animate this one first beforehand, as I haven't actually done anything but program the pre-position. So let's see if we can get a little bit of an animated walking effect going on here. I went through some crazy ideas to get to this stage right here, and you guys know me, I can be a little bit of a derp sometimes, completely overlooking the fact that this has multiple stages. So if ever you want to do something complicated like an animation, so this is our rudimentary animation for it walking, it puts its foot down, it moves it back, it lifts it up and brings it back forward. You can program all of that into this thing right here, which actually makes everything really simple now, because we can program the walking animation through that alone and then apply it to each leg. Now a couple of those legs will be alternated, so that as one's walking forward, the other one behind it is sort of lifting up and already coming forward to then walk forward itself. That was confusing because walking forward is the action of it going backwards. Yeah, so when one leg's going backwards, the other one's up in the air coming forward, right? And then that way, if they alternate between that, it should move forward fairly swiftly. And now I think we're looking at our path to success here. This feels like it's going to work, and I want to refine the leg design as I said I'd do a moment ago. So this thing is obviously on repeat. That's the settings that I've gone for. I'm now going to rebuild this leg, and this time I may as well just build it onto the actual contraption. This was going to be the base for it right here because yeah, I'm pretty set on this being the way that we're going to do it. And then of course we've got that extra bearings in there which we can control with one of these if we want to then turn in another direction or do something slightly different. But we are going to rework the leg here and make it look a little bit better. Okay, we've got more hurdles to get over here. We need to think about the logic of how the legs interact with one another. how they are timed together, and which connectors they're hooked up to as well, because we want to control these in a particular way. For example, well, actually, no, I've got one switch here, really. It's probably going to control everything, isn't it? And it's hooked up to the driver's seat, so when we press 1, this should start to animate. Now, that is not very fast, is it? But that's also the fastest that it goes. And the animation itself, that's the first time I've seen it, doesn't look too great, but it's something we can work with. And I'm actually really confident about this, but what I want to do right now is actually turn that off. So we've got to press 1, and then that turns off the switch. Interesting, so when you get out of the chair, it doesn't automatically turn it off. So we've picked this thing up with a lift, we've plopped it down. Interestingly enough, the leg has returned to the default position. I wanted to leave one of them like that so we could see them and rebuild them nice and easy. Anyway, my idea here was that when we remove the lift, it's going to fall down. What if we were to build up to the same heights? And we do this in 4 places so it's well supported. And I think what's going to happen is the leg's going to cause it to wobble and it'll fall off. But this might be useful if we do this. Right, and that one went slack. That sort of suggests... oh no, I never actually hooked those up, did I? Alright, anyway, let's get in here. Let's press 1. Hey, and now we can sort of see it animate in the air a little bit. And eventually it will probably end up falling off, won't it? But that is a good sign of things to come right there. So, as I said, got to think about how they're going to... It's going in the wrong direction. That is a backwards walking leg right there. Okay, yeah, lots to think about, and we've got to turn that around for starters. So check it out. Our spider vehicle is going to the next level. 4 legs have been added. And let's just remove that for a second, because things look pretty crazy. Although I kind of need that to show you what's going on here. So eventually I sort of sussed out how to get the legs to be parallel to one another. So try and imagine there's a line sort of going between them. When this one goes across that way, this one needs to go across the opposite way. And then when that one goes down, this one needs to go up, I think. Something like that. It's all very confusing, but let me show you how I did it. I took the first 5 of these, and then I think I deducted the rotation amount here. So the next one we'll see on the opposite one will be, yeah, minus 15, and then it goes opposite, so it goes up by 30. So let's have a look at that for the second line. Starting position is 45, it's plus 15, and so the starting position should now be 60 and minus 15. So it starts where the other one ends and goes in the opposite direction. And I tested it with 2 legs, it looked amazing, so I was like, right, let's hook it all up and see if we can get this thing to go with 4 legs. So let's remove this from the bottom. The legs have now popped into position. Interesting to see that we are slightly wonky. That was something I wasn't really expecting, but almost makes sense. Anyway, let's walk. Right, so we're going to sort of wobble from side to side, and look, we're actually going forward. Now I think when we add in the next pair of legs, what we'll have is them acting kind of opposite to the 4 that we have now. So when they're down on one side, like this, they're going to be up on the other 2, and then that way I think it'll not only move faster forward, but it will also stabilize the middle, so we should be relatively level. Now, setting this up is going to take me a while, but when I show you it'll be fairly straightforward. Just another setup like this where these 2 boxes have been set up to the legs. And by the way, this one controls the left, that one controls the right. So we'll do something similar over here, but first of all we've got to set up one of these legs so at least we can get to see, you know, how it should be to make it walk. Did that make any sense? Hopefully it did. Alright, so progress has been made again. And this is the good moment here because we are on track to finish this thing now. We've kind of sussed out how to make it walk. I think we've still got to test it properly, but that leg in the middle on that side over there, that's the one that we've been testing. So let's watch the animation. I'm going to press 1, it's going to go, and these are working on opposites. So when one is moving up, the other's moving down. When it's moving back, the other one's moving forward. And if it looks like it's glitching out a bit, it's because the middle bit wobbles and that throws the legs around. Now it may also be that the legs there are clipping with the other blocks, which is very much likely because I've had a lot of issues getting this to work with them touching one another. It could be that they are still doing that, but that I believe is the correct walking mechanism that we need. And let's stop the thing and hop out here, and you'll see that I've adjusted these numbers down very fine. Went for 10 first of all, and a rotation of 20 on either, and that wasn't quite enough, so 9 and 18 has it very, very close to one another. It looks like they might clip, but it could be the rocking back and forth that's causing it to jump. However, we could tweak it one more time actually, which is a test I will do. But now it means we can copy the design for this leg and all of the numbers onto these other free spaces that are missing, and then when we put it on the ground, we're going to find out if it works. So by the time I next record, we should be finding out just that. But I do want to mention, once again, frames are feeling a little bit laggy. They drop from time to time. It helps if you pick this thing up and then place it on that. Then all of a sudden the frames come right back. And it reminds me of a problem that I've had every time or every other time I log into World, which is that this over here breaks, and you can see that I've broken a section of my Star Wars door off. And I've realised the reason why this is breaking is because the default position is not the position the door is closed in. And you can see an example of how this would cause a problem when you pick this thing up and put it down. So at the moment we have it in its default position, and then when we retract it, all of the bearings are going to turn into the correct spot or something like that. So they all sort of pop out, and that wasn't a very good example because I was standing too close to it. Let's pop it down, not like that. Let's pick up the spider, pop it down somewhere, and then stand further back. And bam, there you go. So if there's any things nearby, like when you log in, it's starting off with, let's say, like the legs are flat, and then it pops them into position. With this door, it means that the starting position, I think, is actually with this part of the door here in the ground, or something along those lines, because when we made it, it didn't have the door attached to it immediately. So that's something to keep in mind if you run into those problems. Hopefully that'll help you fix some of yours if you've had them as well. Anyway, let's get this thing's programmed up, because the next thing we're going to do is, of course, a test and see if it will walk. Well, this was not the desired effect. Oh my. Oh my. Okay, let me think for a second here. Let's stop this. No, press 1. There we go, that should stop it, right? Did it press it? What's going on? Right, now it works. Okay, interesting. Yeah, that was not the desired effect at all. However, it just occurred to me that we're on very unsettled land. This may actually work. Oh, wow, tremendous lag. Look how slow I'm moving here. It may work a lot better on flat land. That being said, we've got a little bit of space in the middle here. Maybe I can wander somewhere else and try it as well. So let's plop that thing down. Ah, look, it's above something over on the right-hand side there. So it's not going to have an even start. Let's pop into this thing. Oh, and look at that. I've put it down the wrong way around. So now it's just going to walk, yeah, straight into that thing. Oh, that doesn't look good either, does it? Okay, I've run over to a new space. And can we even see the old place back there? We can. So all of that stuff's still loaded. And it is still laggy. It's terribly laggy. It's gotten worse since I've been playing, I swear. Anyway, now let's press 1 to move forward and pray this works. I don't understand that. Does it really need to make it do a flip into the air? I don't think so. And that's going to be kind of hard to troubleshoot, so to speak. It's right as the middle leg to the left of me. The one directly to the left of me. It's right as it hits the ground that it projects up into the sky. Let's watch it do that again. Look, boom. Really? Is there something different on that one leg? It almost looks like it curls in a tiny bit further than the rest, actually. Or maybe not. What have I made? Oh, I tried my best, and it looks like I failed miserably. Oh, look at that. It's moving forward. It is technically moving forward. I know it's not by much. Do you know what I did? I reduced the length of the leg at the very end there a tiny bit, and now it crawls forward ever so slowly. But it's doing it, and I tell you what, if these legs were spaced out a little bit more, they could probably move a lot further. There's also like 4 of them touching the ground at the same time. I think the game's having a lot of trouble like calculating all of this at once. But we are moving forwards, so that's one thing. I'm going to mess around with this a little bit more. I also had the idea to attach springs to the end of the legs. So let's do that together quickly. Let's hop out of here and pick this thing back up and get some frames back as well. And we could attach some springs perhaps. Let's go with the smaller one first. All we've got to do is blitz round to the end of each of these and drop those on. They could also mess things up big time. Maybe they'll stabilise it a little bit. Probably not. We might have to add a block on them as well. So now what we've done is technically made the leg a block bigger than it was the first time. Maybe what we might have to do is chop a little bit off, put this in the middle. But I've got time, you know, I can try out lots and lots of different things. So hopefully by trying a few different things we'll find the one that works is what I'm thinking. Because the concept seems pretty good, right? And here it is with springs. The springs seem to go into the ground. And is it me or is it moving forward just a little bit quicker than it did before? It kind of is, isn't it, I think? Wow. Well, there you go. We are technically walking. Anyway, I'll work on those legs and see if I can get it a little bit more efficient. So, you can tell by the tone of my voice it's not good news. I have tried many things, and at one point I noticed that the legs on the right hand side weren't set up properly, and I imagine some of you spotted that in the video as well. So I had to double check, go through all the numbers again, basically reconfigure everything inside of these. Well, not reconfigure, but continuously go back and forth over the numbers until they made sense. And finally I got it so it was walking how it should have done, and I was thinking the whole time that the reason it flips up and down is probably because the legs weren't configured correctly, right? Well, now it's even worse. Now it's literally one big flipping machine. And that leg has got on... How has that one leg decided to go all the way over there? Now it's going in the other direction. That's really odd. I wonder if it does that every time. Let's hop out of here. Let's pick this thing back up. Yes, it's very laggy. By the way, you may have noticed that some of the legs are made out of metal, and there's also metal attached at the back. Basically, I'm playing around with weight at this point and seeing if adding more weight to it would stop it from flipping. So anyway, was that an anomaly, or is there something odd with the one on this side over here? There wouldn't appear to be, although... Is that changed anyway? No, because it's got the bearing underneath hooked up. That was going to be for a turning system I wanted to add, but I don't think we're ever going to get that far. So, wow, now that leg's goofing out like crazy. What is up with that? I don't even know at this point. Okay, so let's hop out of here. Let's grab the thing, put it back down again. I basically want to do... I basically want to do one last test because I'm going to remove all of this weight. We could add a lot more weight, but I really don't think it makes a difference. I added this bit and it seemed to do nothing to the flipping. You'd think if it's going to flip something upside down, then weight would slow that down a little bit. One thing we have had luck with is the shorter legs. And now that these legs are a little bit heavier, I was kind of hoping they'd do the trick. I also played around with putting pipes on the end of them since they have a different hitbox shape, but that didn't really seem to do anything either. Once again, we've got to remove... seem to forget that every time. Remove the thing from underneath. Alright, so probably one of our last attempts now. That's better. That's not flipping, and it's technically walking forward. Do you know what? A fair bit of the body of the car lands on the ground, which may be causing a bit of an issue as well. Maybe I should tweak some of the bearings closer to the the platform a little bit and see if we can get it to lift off the ground a touch. Okay, I've tweaked some settings, changed some things, and nothing much has really changed. But I do think I've sussed out one of the reasons we're having an issue. Whenever these legs are longer, that's when this thing likes to flip over. And I think what it is when it rotates the leg down into the ground, if this thing sort of collides into the ground, it's like the leg is going through the ground and get projected back, so it causes this sort of flip effect. I don't really know. But anyway, let's watch it walk for the last time. And it looked like that leg just got caught underneath the other one. Every now and then that happens. It's so bizarre. And it also feels like this thing gets more and more stable once it's been walking for longer. If we pick this thing back up and put it down again, I'm sure we're going to have a much smoother experience. Anyway, this clearly didn't work out. I am very disappointed. I did have a lot of fun doing this, but it ended up becoming quite tedious because there are tons and tons of variables to consider here. And wow, that's worst takeoff ever. Normally when I put it back down it moves quite smoothly, so it's very unpredictable. and it's not all that really, is it? My advice, oh look, look, the leg's wrapped over the side of it again. My advice to all of you, though, if you do try to rebuild this perhaps and take on board what we've done here, I can't help but feel these legs, the back ones at the side here, should be a little bit closer to the ground. And like I said, you know, with these things pushing into the ground, that seems to be where the flipping is coming from, which possibly makes it very difficult to make one of these walkers. And there are just, you know, an insane amount of combinations to consider of variables, and I couldn't suss it out with the time I had, but I did have fun, and I hope you guys have had fun watching the video as well. If you did, please do leave a like. As always, thank you for your support on the videos, and that's going to be it from me this one, so thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.